In episode 5, Josie has done a good job of getting better, but also spying for Layton. She's been able to pass messages to him through the trade, and one of those messages tells Layton that she's pretty sure Wilfred's planning something, and it has to do with Icy Bob. In the meantime, however, Wilfred's just focused on his book club. They're discussing the next chapter when Sykes comes in and lets him know that their friend up train has planted the lantern, so they're good to go, and this really excites Wilfred. He hands Sykes a note to pass to Miss Audrey, and when Audrey gets it, it's an invitation for her to join Wilfred on Big Alice, so she lets Layton know. And Layton is concerned for her safety, but she tells Layton, Wilfred is not going to hold me against my own will. She also knows that they need this, and she's willing to do it. So Ben shows her a control panel where, when you switch the wires out, it'll give Snowpiercer the ability to listen in on Big Alice without Big Alice actually knowing it. So that'll be Audrey's task on top of just finding out what's going on in Big Alice. Layton then calls a meeting with Ruth, Javi, Zara, Roach, and Till eventually shows up as well. Javi gives an update on how so far everything's going great with the weather balloons. They just released their latest one, they're waiting for Melanie to connect, and after that they only have one more. And Layton tells them this is great, but we're still not safe, because indications show that they're about to be attacked, so he wants to fortify some of the weaker cars. And Till questions why they're still continuing to do trade if they're hearing that they're going to be attacked, but Layton says, we're still doing trade. He then kicks everybody out except Till and Roach and lets them know that he has a contact over in Big Alice and they need to keep the border open so that she can communicate. And they figure out that the contact's Josie. Till, though, is kind of having a meltdown because the brakeman and the breachman are at each other's throats and she still doesn't have a suspect for who cut off Lights' fingers. So Roach and Layton tell her, why don't you just take a day? So she takes the day off and she heads to the bar where she is reunited with Osweiler and they start talking about train life and whatnot, but he has to leave and go to his janitorial shift. And that's when one of the bartenders lets her know that some of the breachmen have bought her a drink. They're really just screwing with her, and it's working. She's about to fight all of them when Pastor Logan grabs her and pulls her away from getting in a fight, taking her to the gym and throwing her some boxing gloves to spar with. He figures it would be best if she just get out that pent-up frustration, and it actually works. And after they spar, they start having a conversation about all the things that the train has gone through, which morphs into the leadership on the train, and Pastor Logan doesn't seem like he's the biggest fan of Layton. And Layton is juggling a lot, the latest being that his pipeline in Big Alice is being threatened by Terrence. The pipeline was set up so that Pike could sell weed, but when Terrence caught him selling weed in his territory, he had LJ bash him in the head with a pipe and drag him over to Terrence, where Terrence threatened that if he ever did it again, he would kill him. So Layton patches up Pike and finds out the details and tells him, I'll handle this. He meets with Terrence, offering him a deal of 60-40 split, but telling him, if you don't agree to this, I'm going to arrest you because I have reason to. But Terrence doesn't back down, instead actually threatening Layton, because he's seen the little girl that passes the messages from the tail to Layton. So he threatens the little girl, but he also threatens to reveal Layton's contact in Big Alice, because he's also figured out that it must be Josie. So Layton needs to figure out what to do, but he doesn't have much time to think about it because he has an ultrasound appointment with Zara. And at the appointment, he fills Zara in about what he's going through with Terrence, where Zara says if Terrence is threatening to expose Josie, then he's threatening us. He needs to be dealt with. But Layton says, we're not in the tail anymore, I can't do that. And Zara reminds him that you can sanction it. And that seems to be something that Layton hasn't even thought about. Now, over on Big Alice, Wilfred is all Audrey'd up. I mean, he's been blasting her album for the entire train to hear. They're getting sick of it, mainly Alex. She's also angry at the fact that she's being left out in the dark and asks him, when are you and Sykes going to let me know what you have planned up train? But he just preaches patience to her. Alex then confronts him about the fact that Audrey is allowed to come to Big Alice, but she isn't allowed to go meet up with Lila Folger. And Wilfred doesn't answer the question, just asking, are you worried that she's going to take your place? And she says, no, I'm worried you're getting soft. I mean, how does Audrey help us take Snowpiercer? And Wilfred chuckles, saying, that's where you watch the mystery unfold, my dear. A short time after, Audrey comes aboard, and she doesn't initially see Wilfred, she just sees Alex. And Alex gives her a ton of attitude. It's kind of like a daughter whose parents get divorced and her dad goes on a date with a new woman. Alex completely disapproves of the relationship. And when Wilfred does finally show up, Alex just storms out of there, leaving the two alone. And they have their little date and things are going well, but Audrey has a mission to handle. So she asks Wilfred to make her a drink to get him out of the room, and she finds the control panel. And she starts to unscrew it, but she runs out of time. However, when Audrey walks further back in the car, Wilfred does end up noticing that something was messed with the control panel, although he doesn't bring it up, just continuing the date. Now, things seem to be going well for Wilfred on Big Alice, but things are not going well on Snowpiercer, where the latest balloon that they released has reached altitude where Melanie could connect, but she hasn't yet. And Ben's freaking out a little bit because Melanie hasn't been late connecting with any of these. And because of this, Ben and Javi call a meeting with the powers that be and let them know that they need to maybe plan for life without Melanie. Now, the good news is they've launched enough balloons where they should be able to build a climate model. But at this point, it's important not to let Wilfred know because they're about to turn around tomorrow to go back to get her. And if Wilfred finds out about this, he's not going to want to turn the train around. So they need to act as business as usual, launch the last balloon, and lie to Wilfred, telling him that Melanie connected, as they just hope to God that she's okay. The group is kind of conflicted, though, about what to tell the people because these connections have been a big boost for morale, and Ruth speaks up saying, we need to lie. Unfortunately for Ruth, she's going to be the one tasked with lying, and unlike Melanie, she's not really cool with it. It's just something her morals don't agree with, even though she knows that it goes on. Zara actually has to remind her, you're a leader on this train, and at this moment, a white lie is actually needed. So Ruth gets in front of the microphone and makes the announcement. But Leighton had the issue about what to do with Terrence. What Zara told him has been sitting in his mind, and he finally agrees with it. He goes to Pike to commission him to kill Terrence, and Pike is really broken up about it, because ever since the cannibalism episode, he's been trying to live a better life, and this goes against it. And even though he doesn't want to do it, he knows he has to because of his loyalty for the tail. So he sneaks up to Terrence's bunk and slaps down one blade because he wants to make it a fair fight. And Terrence starts trying to haggle with him, saying that he will accept Leighton's deal, but it's too late. He tries a sneak attack on Pike, but it doesn't work. It's a pretty quick fight, with Pike stabbing him a bunch of times, and then taking, I assume, a caulk gun and stuffing his face full of it, killing Terrence that way. So that's one less issue that Leighton has to worry about. But Josie is over in Big Alice, continuing to do her job of spying for Leighton. And while getting treatment, the Headwoods get pulled aside by Sykes. Now, Josie can't make out full sentences, but she's hearing some things, like, this is too soon, this isn't what we agreed upon, and she can tell by their body language that the Headwoods are not happy. Problem is, she's going through a medical procedure and she starts to have a panic attack. And Icy Bob actually recognizes this, so he gives her steps to calm her down. Turns out, seems like a really nice guy. He gives her tips on how to deal with the pain, but also letting her know the Headwoods are not to be crossed. You want to do what they say. So with the tips that Bob has given her, the next time she goes through a medical procedure, the Headwoods give her something to knock her out during it because it's extremely painful, but she doesn't take the medicine, hiding it away. This way, she's able to hear their conversation. And while she's keeping the pain inside, she is able to hear the Headwoods discuss the Breachman tonight, and this gives her enough information that night to write a note to Leighton. But as she's stuffing it away in the laundry, she ends up getting caught by Icy Bob. He tells her, I saw you didn't take the medicine. And at first she plays dumb, but he's a pretty imposing guy. She asks him, are you going to tell them about this? But he says no. He just wants the meds. And when she hands him over, he says, you better know what you're doing. During the next trade, Leighton ends up getting Josie's message that says, tonight, Breachman. And he knows he needs to act quickly. He tells Ruth, get Audrey back and then close the border ASAP. And then he grabs Roach to head to the Breachman room. But the only one there is Bach, and he demands to know where the others are, but Bach says, I don't know, they're around? Leighton confronts them about attacking for Wilfred, but Bach denies it. And every time he's ever been accused of anything, Bach pleads his innocence. And that's when alarms start going off, because the Breachmans weren't the ones who were attacking. The Breachmen were the ones who were getting attacked. One by one, they're killed. And by the time that Till and Roach and Leighton figure it out, it's too late. And when Wilfred and Audrey get to the border, the alarm is still going off, and Wilfred is smiling from ear to ear saying, what's going on over there, Ruth? But she doesn't know. Audrey turns to Wilfred and says, what did you do? But he doesn't answer the question, instead telling her that she can stay in Big Alice if she wants. He even extends that very invitation to Ruth, but Ruth says, I'm sorry, sir, I can't do that. Ruth then asks Audrey, are you coming? And Audrey looks at Ruth, looks at Wilfred, and then turns around. And Wilfred and Audrey walk back into Big Alice as the border door closes. Thanks for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to this channel. Like the video if you liked it. Hit thumbs down if you don't. Be nice in the comments section. Nasty comments hurt my feelings. I work hard on these. If I make a mistake, it happens. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen, it'll be up soon. Sharing is caring. Put it on your MySpace page or your away message. And check out my podcast, Scene Invaders, wherever you listen to podcasts.